relationships are often the biggest source of conflict for people. Right?
True.
And we often see people come in with, my parents are very forceful on me, or my parents don't understand me, right? And then society may you see all this where you're trying to sort of fulfill the rights of the parents, as well as sort of fulfill the rights of the mother-in-law. You often see that conflict happening. So how does one work in an environment where the other person is not ready to change and then takes the sort of the cover of religion, saying, these are my rights, you have to respect me, so to say, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, do you know when Rasul asked a question, who he loves the most, what was his answer?
He mentioned his wife, Aisha.
Sayyida Aisha, not the daughter. Who was, and said, who was after that?
Her father.
Abu Bakr. And what was the relationship with Sayyidina Abu Bakr? His father-in-law. Yeah. So in-laws were closer to him than his own family. Right? And then, so on. Everybody he named was related to him somehow. What I said in the very beginning, and I'm going to repeat that point, no society can flourish where you do not let a husband and a wife live a happy life. Yes, there's a lot of blackmailing done by the family. That he married and now we are not as important. You should not be important. Your mother needs to be in romantic relationship with your father, not with you. Right. She should never be fighting with the wife, because Islam's core essence relationship is husband and wife. So if they don't understand, what do? You tell them. Right. You tell them loud and clear. Mom, this is my wife. This is my relationship. This is the reason, and Dr. Israr, I was just listening yesterday, he said it very clearly, there's no concept of joint family in Islam. He said, when you are in trouble, that's a different situation, that you don't have a house, that's different. There's no concept. Your son needs to live with his wife. Let him live his life.
Right.
Every man would like to have a life, Allah has made them that way, according to their needs, and they want to work with their spouse. Married sisters should have a zero role in the family of their brother and the sister-in-law. Right. And let me answer that very clearly. Sayyidina Ali was known as Abu Tarab. Right. All of you heard. You know what Abu Tarab means?
Father
of the dust. Yes. And do we know how that was given the name?
I don't recall.
I'm not trying to be hard on you, just a way of discussing. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let's quote it, went to the house of Sayyida Fatima and asked about Sayyidina Ali. And she said that we have a disagreement. And he left. And he went to the masjid. So Rasulullah went to the masjid. He was laying on the floor and had dust on his back. Rasulullah sallallahu said in one of the Qur'ans, Ujlas Abu Tarab. He wanted him to sit up. And he tried to clear the dust. And he took him back to his household. Now you need to understand, it is not only his son-in-law, he raised him. So he has a one relationship that he could have asked that question even from that perspective. And second is his daughter. He did not ask any of them what happened. He made them reconcile and he left. You know what Fuqaha said? They said, you're not allowed to ask what happened between the husband and the wife. That's a very clear boundary. Right. But do we follow that boundary? What I'm trying to say, not only as a psychiatrist, but as a student of religion, when you create a confusing society, that leads to mental illness. And this is where you create the conflict. Mother has a space. She has, of course, tons, but she has no control on the daughter-in-law. She should not have any. There's a lot of discussion which happens. Does daughter-in-law is expected to take care of the son-in-law and mother-in-law? No. There's no concept like that in Islam. But if she does it, that's very nice of her. And that's a very basic thing. When you expect somebody, now you're my new servant, you need to take care of me. It becomes very, very hard for that girl. Rather than when she does and the mother-in-law feels, she's such a good girl, she's taking care of me and said, let me help you. Thank you for taking care of me. So when you try to create conflict, and why do we create conflict? We have very limited knowledge of religion. We have very limited knowledge of civic sense. We have very limited knowledge of relationships. That is the reason the number of our patients with mental health are going up in Pakistan. And it becomes very clear why. When we were in United States, my wife has a very close acquaintance. She was a neighbor, very good girl. So her father's family was visiting. And we were just next door. The family came and there was a pretty heated argument between the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law. To an extent, the daughter-in-law, when the mother-in-law chose to step out, she sat in the car and waited. And then the father-in-law followed and they went to a hotel. Next day they came back. They stabilized the thing. They stabilized the relationship. And then they went back. That was a big learning. In our culture, at that time, I think that 20, 30, 40 people need to gather and tell the daughter-in-law how bad you are. Right. And you should have gone and apologized. So that's just avoiding conflict. It's a very important thing in mental health.
Yeah, and that paradigm is something that really explains, and it really makes things easy, to see where is the conflict in your life and then, resolve that conflict in order to proceed further, right? And you see that a lot of the people often in our society now, they turn towards gutka and pan and cigarettes and even harder drugs, just because they're unable to face that conflict, right?